Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and the name of the topic is Akhand Bharat, Undivided India, Reality or Fallacy. My lesson plan includes why is it in the news, historical perspective, which country will form part of the Akhand Bharat or Undivided India, is the concept of Akhand Bharat feasible, and finally conclusion. I will stick to these points to cover this topic. Since this topic is doing rounds for the last 10 days, so I thought it prudent to describe in detail as to what constitute Akhand Bharat, I mean Undivided India. So friends, why is it in the news? You might have read in newspapers that RSS chief advocated the need for Akhand Bharat, I mean Undivided India. He said that Akhand Bharat is possible from Hindu Dharma but not through force. Before independence and after independence, it has been the important plank of Hindu Mahasabha during the foreign domination, I mean British rule. Veer Savarkar, Guru Golwalkar, and later on Jansangh. And so in 1965 Jansangh passed a resolution for Akhand Bharat or an Undivided India. So this has been the important planks of right-wing politicians since the beginning of our independence. In 2015, the then General Secretary Ram Madhav of BJP sketched a plan for Undivided India encompassing India, Bangladesh and Pakistan. These countries were the part of British rule, and so he wanted to have an Undivided India by encompassing Pakistan, Bangladesh and India. RSS never acquiesced the partition of India. So you see that this is not a new proposition. Now let us examine as to how Akhand Bharat will materialize and which countries will be its constituents. Historical perspective. Friends, as you know that in the RSS textbook, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, these countries will be the constituent part of Akhand Bharat. Now, according to Veer Savarkar, India will encompass from Sindh to Assam and from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. In its long history, one of the biggest empires in the world was founded by Mauryans. And during the Chandragupta Maurya period, Indian empire reached to Hindu Kush mountain, the scientific border of India, whereby the entire South Afghanistan, the present day Pakistan Nepal, India, except far south, Bangladesh. These countries formed part of Mauryan Empire. During Aurangzeb period, Mughal Empire reached at its zenith, and even Assam was captured by Mughals, and the boundary of Mughal Empire in the north extended to Hindu Kush mountain, encompassing Ghazni, Kabul and Kandahar cities in Mughal Empire. During Chola period, Cholas were a great maritime power, and so during the heydays of Cholas, Rajendra Chola even defeated Mahipal and took the title of Gangai Konda Cholapuram, and this blue colored areas were directly controlled by him, and the pink colored areas like Kaling, Oda and Bangdesham, they were subordinate states within Chola kingdom. Similarly, Rajendra Chola captured entire Sri Lanka and Sri Vijay in Malay Peninsula. So you see that during Chola period, Bay of Bengal was converted into a Chola lake because of their powerful navy. Now during the British rule, this is the map whereby you can see that British government adopted a new policy. There were certain areas that were directly under the British rule, and these areas are shown by red color, and the green color areas are shown for Indian princes who had autonomy in their internal affairs, but their foreign policies were completely controlled by the British government. Now in 1922, British government had to give freedom to Afghanistan, and a Durand line was made between Afghanistan and India. So this is the Durand line. Britishers also got concessions from Tibetans in matters relating to trade and commerce. Friends, we know that till 1911, Tibet was part of Chinese Empire under Qing dynasty. But after 1911 revolution, under the leadership of Sun Yat-sen, Tibet became independent, and it remained independent till 1951 when Communist China captured Tibet and made its own territory. So in 1947, because of the imperialistic design of British government, India was partitioned into two parts, Pakistan and Hindustan, and later on in 1971 again Pakistan was divided into Pakistan and Bangladesh. So this is the brief history of our Indian subcontinent. Now, from the cultural perspective, this map will show you as to how India exerted influence in its long history. The areas covered under dark orange are those areas which has direct influence of Indian culture, like Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and those areas which are shaded under light orange. These areas are Brunei, Cambodia, East Timor, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, Southern Vietnam, Thailand. And yellow regions depict those areas which had significant Indian cultural influence, and those areas are Yunnan, Philippines, Tibet, and eastern Afghanistan. So, friends, from the above description, it is clear that the demographic composition and the religious affiliation have completely changed. Friends, you know that in Afghanistan, particularly in southern Afghanistan, large number of Hindus were living till date. But now their numbers very much dwindled and become negligible. Now it is being governed by orthodox Islamic rule headed by Taliban. And the North Afghanistan, I mean north of Hindu Kush mountain, had never been part of Indian subcontinent. Those areas are predominantly inhabited by Tajiks. When India became independent and partitioned, Pakistan had 21% Hindus. Now it has been reduced to 2%. Similarly, in Bangladesh, now the population of Hindus are 8.5%. In Myanmar, where during the British rule, there were huge numbers of Indians, both Hindus and Muslims. Now Hindus have been forced to flee away from Myanmar. Is the concept of Akhand Bharat feasible? Can we make undivided India by force? No. Answer is no. Why? Because India and Pakistan are both nuclear powers. The geostrategic situation has completely changed. Now Pakistan has got alliance with China. Pakistan is economically and militarily dependent upon China. Similarly, Myanmar has a strategic alliance with China. And after independence of Myanmar in 1948 and bifurcation from India in 1937, most of the Hindus were forced to flee away from Myanmar. Nepal is predominantly Hindu country, where more than 90% people are Hindus, but for major parts in its history, Nepal has been an independent country. So Akhand Bharat can never materialize, by the application of force, no country can surrender its sovereignty to get themselves amalgamated with Akhand Bharat. Now, what is way out? Friends, as you know that Akhand Bharat is now an impossible proposition. Pakistan, Bangladesh, Maldives are predominantly Islamic countries. Afghanistan has hardcore orthodox Islamic rule, where the lives of women have become very much pitiable. Myanmar and Sri Lanka are both Buddhist countries, and India is a secular country with 80% population of Hindus. Now, India has very less trade relation with its neighboring countries. In this year of 2022, 31st March, India had export of 422 billion American dollar and import 589 billion dollar. But if we see the trade relation of India with its neighboring countries, it is not more than 7%. Trade with Pakistan has become negligible. Moreover, trade with Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Myanmar have favorable balance of trade for India, with the result that these countries are more dependent upon other countries of Southeast Asia, China, Japan and other countries of world, because Indian exports are maximum and imports are minimum. So balance of trade is always favorable to India vis-a-vis its neighboring countries. The South Asia region is the most disconnected region of the world. If you look at map, you will find that Japan, Korea, China, Southeast Asia, they have more than 50% of their export and import trade with the neighboring countries. Similar situation obtains in African countries, in European countries, but with the result that economic integration of South Asia is still to be achieved. Friends, you know that Akhand Bharat will be a non-feasible concept. Why? Because in an undivided India, where more than 100 crore Hindus will be there, and then 60 crore or 61 crore Muslims, around 5 crore Buddhists. So these were the three important religious groups, and there is a likelihood of, or the chances of, having a scramble for power, wealth. So instead of Akhand Bharat, India should strive for a confederacy of states encompassing Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Myanmar and Sri Lanka and Maldives. These countries should form the nucleus of confederacy on the pattern of European Union, where there will be a single market and a system of law will be framed and will apply to all members. There will be free movement of people, goods, services and capital within the internal market. Later on, there may be a single currency on the pattern of euro currency and a super parliament for all the constituent members for enacting laws relating to trade, agriculture, industries and regional development can be achieved. This confederacy will have their own common currency. Friends, what is the difference between federation and confederation? For example, India is a federal state with unitary bias. What is the meaning of federalism? Where there will be a written constitution, where there will be clear-cut demarcation of their functions between center and the units, where there will be a strong judiciary to resolve the disputes between center and state or between two states, and where there will be bicameralism, where states will be represented in the upper house of parliament. So these are the important features of federalism. Before 1789, 13 colonies of United States were a confederacy. They had surrendered certain rights to central government, keeping sovereign power with themselves. Now, after the promulgation of their constitution in 1789, they also surrendered sovereignty to the central government, keeping most of the residue power with themselves, thereby making the US a federal government. India can have a confederacy aligning with Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Maldives, with a strong parliament to enact laws governing all the units. And in this confederacy, no government will surrender its sovereignty. Its main purpose would be to integrate economically, to have free flow of goods and services throughout the length and breadth of the confederacy. Now, this will only happen if we will be able to minimize the influence of China in South Asia. India will have to play a dominant role to make confederacy. It will have to weaken the influence of China in South Asia. It will have to economically integrate with the South Asian countries, and a growth of 8 to 10% annually for next 30 years will make India a predominant power in South and Southeast Asia, and the economic power of India will act as a centripetal force for all the countries of South Asia. Friends, as you know that India has the advantage of civilizational unity. Except China, India is only a country which has a long history of continuity. So you see that India has the advantage of cultural continuity, composite culture, and a strong secular fabric. By strengthening the secular fabric, India will act as a synergy for all other countries of South Asia and to become the part of Confederacy.